morning, everyone. Welcome to Everyday Talks, the podcast where we explore habits, routines, and the little things in life that make a big difference. I'm Emma, and joining me is my co-host, James. Hey, James.
Hi, Emma. Hello, listeners. Today, we're talking about something that sets the tone for the rest of the day, morning routines. Whether you're an early bird or someone who just rolls out of bed minutes before heading out, your mornings matter more than you think.
That's so true, James. Our morning habits can influence how productive, happy, and energized we feel throughout the day. Today, we'll dive into different kinds of morning routines, from highly structured ones to more relaxed, spontaneous styles. And of course, we'll share some tips to help you make your mornings more intentional and fulfilling.
Plus, we've got some fun insights into cultural morning rituals from around the world, and we'll even share some of our own personal stories, both the good and the disastrous ones.
So grab a cup of coffee, tea, or whatever gets you going in the morning, and let's jump right in.
Let's start with structured routines. Those mornings that are meticulously planned, almost down to the minute. Emma, do you think structured mornings are better for everyone?
Not necessarily for everyone, but they do work wonders for people who thrive on discipline and predictability. Take Tim Cook, Apple's CEO, for example. He starts his day at 4:30 a.m. with a workout and then dives into emails. That's commitment.
That's intense, but there's something to be said for creating that kind of structure. For instance, a lot of people swear by the 5 a.m. club idea, waking up early to focus on personal growth. The first hour might include meditation, journaling, or even reading.
I've heard of that. The idea is that the early hours are free of distractions, making it the perfect time to focus on yourself. Personally, my structured mornings are a bit less ambitious. I like to start with coffee, a quick reflection on my goals, and maybe a few minutes of yoga.
Yoga's a great way to wake up the body. For me, it's a short workout, push-ups, squats, or even a quick jog if I can squeeze it in. I feel like physical activity gets my mind and body in sync for the day ahead.
Totally agree. And structured routines aren't just about physical mindset. Even something as simple as practicing gratitude or writing down 3 things you're excited about can set a positive tone for the day.
Emma, let's talk about breakfast for a minute. It's often called the most important meal of the day, but not everyone gives it the attention it deserves. Do you make time for breakfast every morning?
Not always. Some mornings it's just tea and toast for me. But I try to make it count when I can, something like oatmeal with fruits or a protein-packed smoothie. What about you?
I'm a breakfast guy for sure. A smoothie is my go-to. Bananas, spinach, a bit of protein powder. Quick, easy, and energizing. But let's face it, there are days when I just grab a granola bar and call it breakfast.
Same here. And it's fascinating how breakfast differs around the world. In Japan, for example, a traditional breakfast might include rice, miso soup, and grilled fish, totally different from the cereal and milk we often see in Western cultures.
Or in India, where chai and parathas can kickstart the day. And let's not forget Italy, where it's usually a simple espresso and a pastry. These cultural differences show how diverse our morning rituals can be.
Now, not everyone thrives on structure. Some people prefer a more relaxed or even creative approach to their mornings. For example, I know a writer who skips the usual routines altogether and starts her day with free writing. It's her way of tapping into her creativity while her mind is fresh.
That's amazing. I think mornings are a great time for creative work, especially when your mind hasn't been bombarded with the distractions of the day. Some artists and musicians I know also use the early hours to create, saying they feel most inspired then.
Exactly. But what about those days when things don't go as planned? Like you wake up late, or there's an unexpected interruption. How do you handle that?
Good question. I try to focus on salvaging the essentials. If I don't have time for my full routine, I'll at least take 5 minutes to stretch or mentally map out my top priorities for the day. What about you?
Same here. I've learned that it's okay to adapt. For example, if I miss my morning coffee time, I'll find a quiet moment later in the day to reset. It's about not letting a disrupted morning throw off your whole day. James, speaking of disrupted mornings, let me tell you about the time I spilled coffee all over myself on my way to an important meeting. I had to stop at a store to buy a new shirt, and I was 15 minutes late. It was chaotic.
That sounds stressful. For me, it was oversleeping for an early flight. I skipped everything, breakfast, shower, you name it. I barely made it to the airport, but it taught me the importance of prepping the night before.
Absolutely. And listeners, we'd love to hear your stories too. Have you ever had a morning disaster? Or maybe you've nailed your morning routine and want to share your tips? Reach out to us on social media or email us. We might feature your story in our next episode.
Emma, let's talk about cultural morning rituals. In Sweden, for instance, they have fika, a coffee break with pastries that's not just about eating. It's about slowing down and enjoying the moment.
I love that idea. And in Turkey, breakfast is almost a feast: bread, olives, cheese, eggs, honey, and of course tea. It's not just a meal, it's a social experience.
And then there's India, where yoga and meditation are often key parts of the morning. It's a way to ground yourself before diving into the day. These rituals show how mornings can reflect deeper cultural values.
Exactly. It's inspiring to think about how we can incorporate some of these ideas into our own routines, even in small ways.
Let's wrap up with some practical tips for our listeners. Emma, if you had to share one piece of advice for building a better morning routine, what would it be?
I'd say, start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire morning all at once. Pick one habit, like drinking water first thing or writing down a goal, and build from there.
Great tip. Mine would be, prepare the night before. Lay out your clothes, set up your breakfast, or even write a quick to-do list. It takes the pressure off in the morning.
And remember, listeners, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. Experiment with different routines and find what works best for you.
That's it for today's episode of Everyday Talks. We hope you found some inspiration for your mornings.
And we'd love to hear from you. Share your routines, tips, or even funny morning stories on our social media. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps.
Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, make your mornings meaningful.
Bye for now.